Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Thursday, December 22nd, and I'm Blair Kirchhoff. We're talking Chiefs today with beat writers Jesse Newell and Herbie Teope, along with columnist Vahe Gregorian. So many topics. We discussed the playoff race, the likely return of Mecole Hardman, Harrison Butker's kicking woes, and all who are trying to help him out, the Pro Bowl selections, and more. The show started as a SportsBeat Live broadcast. Let's jump right into it. Hey, good morning from Kansas City. Welcome to SportsBeat Live, our weekly conversation about the Kansas City Chiefs with the folks in the media who know them best. Vahe Gregorian, Herbie Teope, and Jesse Newell are here to talk Chiefs with you. Send us your questions and comments, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. So good morning, gentlemen, and I hope everybody is staying warm. I looked this up before the show. It is colder right now in Kansas City than it is in Siberia. So which is to say, it's 6 degrees in Siberia right now, in the capital of Siberia. So that's how cold it is here in Kansas City. I hope, Jesse, I see that you did not make the drive over to Kansas City this morning.
We got Zoom calls with the Chiefs, so there you have it.
Yep. Chiefs are Zooming today. They've called off their scheduled. It would have been just a meeting with Andy Reid and then open locker room today. So that's not going to happen for the Chiefs. So, guys, send us your questions and comments first, and let's talk Chiefs. But we got a lot to unpack here today. Let's start with a little bit of news last night. Herbie, tell us who made the Pro Bowl for the Chiefs. 7 in all.
Yeah, 7 in all. A couple of repeat players, and of course, players who made their first Pro Bowl, including you have Joe Thuney, Senator Creed Humphrey, and as well as Tommy Townsend. I'm sure Dustin Colquitt appreciates that Tommy Townsend made the Pro Bowl. But then you had Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, and Orlando Brown. Brown makes his third straight Pro Bowl, second straight with the Chiefs. Actually, Baltimore as well. So, yeah, 7 players. This is going to be an interesting time for the Pro Bowl. As most people know, they're transitioning from a game to a flag football event. So the Chiefs have their way. They won't be there anyway. February the 12th. Looks like I am having some.
Yeah, Herbie, you're cutting in and out a little bit. It's a little bit of that base internet issue. So I'll just real quick. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Orlando Brown Jr., Creed Humphrey, Joe Thuney, Chris Jones, Tommy Townsend. I think we got that part. Anybody who should have made it that didn't, Jesse, what do you think? Is there did any obvious Chief get left off this list?
I mean, it's tough because the offensive line gets so much representation, but I think Trey Smith is probably the best one out of the rest of the bunch. If you look at some of his ESPN metrics on there, he's been really, really good this year. And the times he hasn't been good, he was dealing with that injury where he's playing through it, just like so many of those guys in professional sports do, to be there for their teammates. But I saw he made ESPN's top 7 snubs on there, so I would probably put him above anybody else. But it's sort of hard to argue or complain. I mean, the Chiefs had 7. I think that was second only to the Eagles when it came to second most Pro Bowl guys out there. But when you're 11-3, kind of the victors go the spoils, and the Chiefs had a lot of success this year. And obviously a lot of those guys you look on that list are deserving. So maybe Trey Smith would be the one that kind of pops to mind for me. But other than that, I don't think I see anybody on there that's a really obvious pick.
Orlando Brown Jr., interesting pick. Pro Football Focus would not agree with his selection of the Pro Bowl roster. I think he's somewhere mid-pack when it comes to tackles in their estimation. So how about any case to be made for L'Jarius Sneed? What about his season up to date? Has he had a Pro Bowl type of season?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like, for L'Jarius, because I think when you think of these corners, you think of who can cover. You know what I mean? And that's not really his strength. he's had a really, really good season, as you mentioned, Blair. So I think you could definitely make a case for like a flex utility defender sort of spot, but like that's not really how the Pro Bowl works, if that makes any sense. So I think you make a good point. He has had a great year for the Chiefs. He's had one of the top years of the defense and has helped them out for the success that they've had. It's just sort of a square peg round hole sort of thing. And if you are going to put him on there, it sort of has to be in the nuanced part of this game where it's run stopping, it's the blitzing, it's his versatility, all those sorts of things. So very valuable for the Chiefs defense. Sometimes that doesn't always show up in these sorts of award type things.
And as Herbie said earlier, the Pro Bowl has been reduced to a flag football, 7-on-7 flag football game in a skills competition. I'm not sure I'm going to be tuning into that. I know Herbie and Jesse have to, but I don't know. That's I never liked the game in the first place, but now, oh my gosh, flag foot. It'll be curious to see how it does ratings wise.
It makes me think of those old, what were the competitions in the 70s, Blair? The Superstars?
Yes,
just wacky races.
Yeah, I just saw a clip of a race in which Wayne Gretzky beat Sugar Ray Leonard in like a 40-yard dash.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it does not seem like must see TV. Seems like a must cover event for somebody to go to in person, though.
The crazy one for my generation here is you can go back and see like the quarterback competitions they used to have at the Pro Bowl, and they have like from 2000 or whatever. So Tom Brady's doing it, like Tom Brady's still performing in the NFL, and it's like he's with like Cordell Stewart and Drew Bledsoe and like all these guys that are not sniffing playing. It's like, holy crap, this guy's still in the NFL throwing footballs. It's pretty amazing. Go back to YouTube and check that one.
That's great when you get, it's like the songs I grew up on being classic music now. Not classical, not quite that, but classic.
Oh man. All right, let's not put this off any longer because Joe has asked about it. Chris Cluey had an interesting breakdown on Butker's kicking mechanics. Apparently generates his power from his hip drive versus leg speed, and that's tougher to do with age, injuries. Interesting point. All right, Vahe, I know you were that was your column out of the locker room this week, one of them. So let's break it down. And first of all, we'll acknowledge it is a problem for Harrison Butker this year to miss a field goal and an extra point, force that game against the one-win Texans into overtime, where the Chiefs made a great defensive play and Jerick McKinnon scored the game winner. So you just can't easily dismiss the problems that Harrison Butker is having this season. He's already missed more combined extra points and field goals than he has in any one season this year. So what did he say about it, and how did he handle it in the locker room when he was crowded by reporters?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I'd be interested if you guys disagree, but I mean, those guys don't have to come out and be at their locker, obviously. I mean, I think actually by rule, they're supposed to be available X amount of times, but first chance we had to talk to him, he came out to his locker and surely anticipated talking to us. One of the things that was interesting, and Jesse was right there too. So I wonder what Jesse thinks about this. I thought he was pretty gracious and at ease, but he certainly wasn't quite taking us inside, right? I mean, in a couple different ways. One thing, I asked him about how much the injury is still a factor, and he couldn't have worked around it any better than he did. I mean, and even the follow-up about if it's affected his rhythm, he just said, I've got to make the kick. So I think it's reasonable to suggest that injury is still with him, and it's part of his whole season. I also think when you have that, look, they're pretty amazing on their own analytics, right? Obviously, they see this pretty comprehensively, but when you have that, no matter what, there's an effect on technique and things like that. Too subtle for me to know, at least at the eyes, at the the face value. But I think there's something in his head at this point, and especially I think you can see that when you've got plenty of range and you're missing. So I know the elephant in the room is the Tommy Townsend, the holds, Dustin Colquitt. It was interesting that Dave Tobe really wanted to make a point yesterday, special teams coordinator, when he came out. I think he tried to make a point right away by congratulating Tommy Townsend on being the special teams player of the week first. It was his first point. But he more or less said what I think the Chiefs have been thinking, which is, yeah, we love Dustin, but we don't need Dustin to tell us what's going on here. Dustin is more free to say what's going on than I think anybody. Like Harrison Butker is not going to say Tommy's holds are no good.
Right.
Chiefs aren't going to say that. They're going to say it's a three-man weave that they've got to get right, the whole operation. So long-winded, the old over-caffeinated answer, Blair, but I feel like, yes, there continues to be a problem. I don't think we should feel like the Chiefs aren't working on this, but I think that they're, not able to say everything because they don't want to get everybody's dander up.
Yeah, I think they want it to go away, at least the public part of it, right? They just want it to disappear and let it be handled in-house. I don't know. I look at Harrison Butker's been such a good kicker throughout his Chiefs career, and I look at the example of the Seattle kicker. Is it Myers? Is that his name? I can't remember. We don't see the Seahawks much, so he hit 75% of his field goals last year, which is about what Butker's doing now, right? He's at 76%. And the Seattle kicker now has made 21 in a row. He's 26-27 on the year. He's missed one extra point. It just happens, and so it leads me to believe that that those who know kicking and talk about kicking are right when they say kickers do go through slumps. Andy Reid, right, said it the other day, like a hitter. Anybody who's stood in the batter's box knows that sometimes the ball looks like a beach ball, and sometimes it looks like a pea coming at you. So it's just going through something that's that the Chiefs really need to get fixed, because this is a franchise that knows what it's like to lose a playoff game because of kicking, and so there is there's a real need to get this part fixed.
I wanted to just ask Jesse, his feelings about what he saw Harrison saying, and his takeaway too, since we were kind of in the scrum together.
Yeah, Harrison's really good at talking about the technical details, at talking to us about those sorts of things, explaining them. It was funny you mentioned asking about being hurt, Vahe. There was a point earlier this year where at the podium, Dave Tobe told the media members that he had told Harrison to stop talking about his injury because nobody wants to hear about his injury. You know what I mean? And so if you ask him the question and he answered on the injury, he's doing exactly what Dave told him to do. And I think this goes back to our main point here, which is, listen, we're reporters. We want these guys to talk to us. We would love to get answers. We love when they explain it to us. And I think there's part of the information flow there that really helps, because we can help communicate it to fans and people that are out there. But I think you're right with this. The Chiefs have a certain level here where they don't want this out. They don't. When Dave Tope says, "Hey, I don't need Harris or Dustin Colquitt to tell me what's happening with the holds," what he's saying is, I'm a special teams coordinator. I've been one for 20 years. Dustin Colquitt's right. I don't need him to tell me that. I don't need that to be out there, because what you're talking about, Vahe, is true. They want to fix this in-house. They don't want this to be public. They don't want this to be headlines. They want Tommy Townsend to take it seriously, and they want, Harrison Butker to make his field goals, whether the laces are in or out. So this needs to be fixed. I think it will be fixed, because I can guarantee you 31 other teams' beat writers right now are not talking about where the laces are any given week. And normally we're not talking about where the laces are, but you understand all parties involved here. Dustin Colquitt, he's super good friends with Harrison Butker. He's standing up for his boy because he see those laces, and he took a lot of pride in getting those laces forward. He's seeing they're not perfect. He knows, hey, this is partly Harrison's fault, but it's probably not, because these laces are in a weird spot. Harrison Butker's trying to say, hey, I just need to make these kicks, but he's stopping short of saying that these holds are perfect, because they're not perfect. You know what I mean? Dave Tobe and Andy Reid are sticking up for their player. They always stick up for their players because that's what you do as an NFL head coach, an NFL special teams coordinator. So you can understand why every party is handling this the way that they are. But the bottom line is what you wrote in your column, Vahe. This is not a public thing. This needs to be a private thing. I mean, they can say whatever they want publicly. All the Chiefs fans care about is that this thing gets worked out and Tommy Townsend's holds are better, Harrison Butker's kicks are better. I thought Joe made an interesting point. I need to go check out that Cluey thing because I've talked with Sam McDowell about this. It seems to me that if you're a kicker, I'm always kind of reminded of golf. Like if you have a 30-yarder, you think you could pull out the 9-iron. You know, you could kind of just get out there and clip it up and, you know, kind of go up and do. It seems like Harrison doesn't have it. He has a 3-wood. Like his thing always comes like this at you. And that's one of his greatest strengths. He's great on kickoff. He's great on those long field goals, that sort of thing. But I've always kind of wondered, like on some of these shows and some of these extra points, why there isn't a 9-iron, why there isn't one that just kind of scoops underneath and goes up. So that hip versus leg thing might play into that if you're generating all your power from your hip, and if you watch him during these field goals, like he kind of gets his body in front of it and then drives through rather than, again, kind of just taking a nice swing at it. Again, I'm not a kicking coach, but it has fascinated me how Harrison has kicked these things, and how he seems to have one gear, and that's this gear that kind of shoots the ball almost right through the net.
Blair, I'm not a doctor or a special teams coordinator, but it was just less than a month ago. Well, we're actually approaching 4 weeks exactly on the day. November the 23rd, Dave Tobe came out and said, I don't think Harrison's going to be 100% healthy the rest of the year. And we got to remember, it's his plant foot. It's his plant ankle that was injured. Right. And the way to describe that ankle injury, you know, I remember back when he first heard it, I asked specifically to Andy Reid, is this a high ankle injury? Because he had missed so much time. And, of course, Andy Reid punted on that. But the description of it, you know, from Dave Tobe saying the blood went all the way up his leg and, you know, his foot was so swollen, he dealt with a significant ankle injury. I'm not a doctor. You know, none of us are. If they say he's healthy, but he dealt with something serious there.
Blair, you made a good point, too. It's funny how we judge kickers because think about if your only job was to make free throws and your whole season you got 30 free throws, like one a game to shoot, but you had to go make it. Like, you know, I think I could be like a 90% free throw shooter, and in one season I could go 22 of 30 or 23 of 30. I mean, that could happen. But again, kickers, they're in the get it right business. They got to make the field as they have. It just, I think what you're talking about with the variance of this can be very high. That's where maybe you're talking about Jason Myers with the Seahawks. Right. 1 year it's not as good. 1 year it's better. This can happen in field goal kicking too. This can happen in PAT kicking, where you can train all you want to, but you got one shot or two shots or three shots, and you better make the most of them. And again, Harrison has not done that at every point this season.
Blair, by going to Pete Maravich's high school, that make you a pretty good free throw shooter?
It actually does not. Believe it or not, that was you know, for a slow guard, that was should have been a strength, but wasn't.
Vahe, you picked the second most famous basketball player from Blair's high school. Can you?
I know. Well, the thing is, one's a predecessor, one's an ancestor. Or Devontae
Graham. That's exactly right. So, hey, all right. So, well, at least Harrison's going to have improved conditions on Saturday in which to kick, right? At least single digit though. Wind chill and probably the wind whipping like it usually does when it's that cold at Arrowhead, making it so comfortable for everyone, especially the kickers. So I do want to talk about the potential for you know, cold weather football and what that might mean. But Herbie, there's a chance of Chiefs getting a front liner back on Saturday. We haven't seen Mecole Hardman in a while. What are the prospects of him playing on Saturday?
Well, you know, he returned to practice last week, and the Chiefs aren't required to say what his participation level is. And I've been trying to get out of Eric Bieniemy how he's looked in practice in 2 straight weeks, but Bieniemy hasn't really said anything. The good news is Andy Reid said on Tuesday there's a good chance that Hardman is back in the lineup against the Seahawks, and he's missed 5 games now. So it would be good to get him back in the fold. They also might have Blake Bell back, their tight end who landed on injured reserve before the start of the season, or excuse me, right at the start of the season after he underwent hip surgery in August. And he will be huge because Jody Fortson is probably not playing this week with an elbow injury.
Okay. Jody Fortson out. Ooh. Yeah, I know. That's a crushing blow. What about these Seattle Seahawks? It's the one team remaining on the Chiefs' schedule that doesn't have a losing record. Seahawks are 7-7. They started out hot as fire. Have cooled off a bit here in recent weeks. The big trade that sent Russell Wilson to the Broncos certainly hasn't worked for Denver. Geno Smith, however, has worked for the Seattle Seahawks. I know you broke down the game a little bit, Herbie. What have the Seahawks done well this year?
DK Metcalf.
It's a good place to start.
Yeah, he's approaching his second career 1,000-yard season. Of course, the Chiefs are probably not going to deal with former Kansas State star.
Continue the tears. Continue the tears. Go ahead.
Who recently underwent hand surgery on Monday, so he's not looking like he'll play this week. But DK Metcalf, what a beast. 6'4", 236 pounds. I remember I asked Steve Spagnuolo yesterday because the Chiefs have faced big physical wide receivers this year in Mike Williams and Mike Evans, but nothing like Metcalf. 6'4", 236. And I love Spags' response. You know, he says, I'm paraphrasing here. I go on the internet every now and then, pull up photos of these guys that bring in team meetings. And he found a shirtless photo of DK Metcalf. And his response was, quote, "Good God, I mean, what a stud," end quote. He's right. He is a stud. You got to be careful with this guy because he runs a 4.33 40-yard dash. He averages 13.9 yards per catch on his career. So he's a handful. And these Chiefs young cornerbacks are going to have to figure out a way to stop DK Metcalf.
Not just young cornerbacks, it's going to be communication. They're going to double him. I'm sorry, that's just going to happen. They're going to be doubling him, but you need the cornerbacks and the safeties to work hand in hand to be able to, that sort of thing. We can talk about one of the Chiefs' struggles defensively this year. That's been going against number one receivers. Think about the big games that happened against the Chiefs this year. Stephon Diggs, huge game. Devontae Adams, huge game. Jamar Chase, huge game. It's time for the Chiefs to step up and stop one of these number one receivers. And you mentioned it, Blair. Geno Smith is having a great year. He's a great story to be able to come out. And the way he's processing the field and finding his guys, it's better with Lockett, obviously, because he is a talented player from Kansas State, not going to be in there this week. But I think that means the Chiefs are going to throw a lot of attention to DK Metcalf. So it is going to be a challenge for them to be able to do that. They need that communication on the back end to be able to execute their assignment and make sure that they get him covered up this weekend.
And yet, Jesse, you like the Chiefs big in this game.
I do. So the thing that's held the Chiefs back to me is that these weird things that keep happening against them. We talk about the two fumbles last week that cost them 11 expected points. You look at some of the advanced measures out there. Last week, the Texans got a 9-point advantage in officiating. They got a 5-point advantage in special teams. The thing is, how did the Chiefs keep winning these games when I say all those points are going against them? They have an amazing quarterback, amazing offense, and they just, wherever they get the football, you feel like they're going to march down and score a touchdown. So they have the offense to blow teams out. It's just been these weird little fluky things that don't seem that are very maintainable week to week that keep happening and popping up. So I think the glass is half full on this for the Chiefs is that, you know, we can say, hey, they didn't look good and they barely won these games, but when you lose 9 points to officiating and 5 points to special teams and 11 points at 1 point to turnover and still win the football game, that means something is going very right for you. And right now, the offense is going very right. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, a historic performance last week, highest completion percentage among an NFL quarterback, at least 40 attempts ever. To have it ever happen and have it happen after a week when he threw 3 interceptions, watched the film, realized he didn't take enough checkdowns and decided this week I'm going to do that. I mean, he's phenomenal. I mean, he's amazing. Like, this Chiefs offense is amazing too. I don't think the cold is going to slow him down. And I think blow-up potential is there. It's up to the Chiefs and avoiding those 2 or 3 plays that really have sidelined them or hamstrung them here the last few weeks.
So you don't think the cold's going to make a difference in this game? I can't help but think that most of the cold weather games, I mean, bitter cold, not we need a heavy coat, but we need a heavy coat and something covering our face. Those types of games, excuse me, have held scoring down. But but you don't think that's going to be the case on Saturday?
Well, I think what you look more at is wind, and if there's a good example is the Saints Browns game that's coming up. If you look at the wind in that one, it's supposed to be 30 to 35 miles an hour constant blowing in the stadium, and that over-under total is 32 and a half, which is the lowest in an NFL game at this point in the last 12 years. So that's really the difference between, I know the offenses, Cleveland and the Saints don't have good offenses as Seattle and Kansas City, but you're talking about a 32 and a half over-under compared to a 49 over-under. That's partly Patrick Mahomes and Geno Smith, but a lot of that is like the wind at kickoff for the Chiefs is supposed to be around 9 miles an hour. That's something that they deal with. That's something that's kind of normal for these games. So the football is going to be hard. I know Harrison Butker talked about the PSI in the football. It's going to be maybe more returns and the ball doesn't fly as far. But as far as the passing game goes, I'm not as concerned because at least as of right now, the forecast is not for there to be a bunch of gusts across the field that takes that football that you throw and takes it a different direction.
Honestly, I consider it one of the mysteries of the universe how seamlessly we often see NFL receivers catch the ball when their hands should feel like bricks. I'm amazed. Obviously, they've got the gloves. I don't know what else they do that makes it that ball doesn't just bounce off their hands. And it's always interesting to me. Patrick, obviously, he can put a touch on it, but he does tend to throw the ball hard. And I don't know if there's any science to what we'll see, per degree that goes up or down, but I'll be interested to watch that. And I know, Jesse, you spoke with some players about that. I don't know if you spoke with receivers about it.
I did. I didn't get over to receiver, but James Winchester is great in the locker room too. But he spoke about get the extra hand warmers. He's like, you don't let them out in the elements, and unless they have to be there. So even if you're running onto the field for a field goal attempt, keep them in the pouch next to the heater, those sorts of things. But it's fascinating. Ask Patrick Mahomes, and he said he's just going to have his neck warmer. That's the other thing we have to keep in mind here, guys. I was thinking back in time, how many cold weather games has Patrick Mahomes played? And in those, he's played pretty well. I mean, I remember those snow games where it's coming down. They have the famous clip of him on the sideline talking to teammates about, I love these snow games. It feels like everything.
I'm a snow game guy.
I'm a snow game guy. I mean, this one might not have snow, but it does feel like, for a Texas kid, he plays pretty well in these sorts of conditions. So I think that's not something we should overlook either.
His first playoff game against the Colts, remember the snow fell that day. I don't remember other big snow games that he played in. I can recall some very, very cold games at Arrowhead. There was a Titans regular season game once where the Chiefs lost on a last second field goal, but scored. It was in the teens. I think it was 1 degree at kickoff.
That Steelers playoff game was pretty cold.
Bitter cold. And so was the AFC title game against the Patriots. Mahomes' first AFC title game.
He was really, really, really good that game too.
He was, especially after halftime. And Herbie, you've probably seen more football games in person than all of us. Do you have a cold weather game that stands out to you?
Yeah, Buffalo, which is why I'm really hoping the Chiefs earn the number 1 seed. I remember in Buffalo, we got stuck in the press box after the game because of a blizzard, and they didn't have the parking lots cleared out, so we got stuck. This, of course, was when I covered the Saints, but we were up there in December, and a blizzard kept us in the press box for hours upon hours until the snow plows could get in there and free us up. Yeah, we don't want to go to Buffalo in January, folks. So, Chiefs, clinch that number 1 seed, please.
I know Vahe doesn't want to go back to Indianapolis in January. I know that I recognize the smile on his face while you were telling that story, Herbie.
the polar vortex kept Adam Teicher and I there when we were too foolish to get out on Saturday night. Oh, we'll just have our flight delayed a little bit on Sunday, and next thing you know, we're clearing tables at Waffle House so we can eat something. It was 72 hours unable to even get out of our parking lot in Indy. It was terrible.
And remember, Vahe, we all offered y'all. We said, "Hey, Vahe, Adam, you can ride with us because we all."
I know. Should have gone, but my defense is I pulled an all-nighter to get there from the Cotton Bowl, and I just wasn't ready to get in a car. But hindsight, 2020.
Always a classic story here. All right, guys. Great stuff. Thank you so much. And we're just a couple days before Christmas. We're in the middle of Hanukkah. Kwanzaa starts on Monday. happy holidays to everyone out there, and we'll see you after the game on Saturday. That will do it for today and this week on SportsBeat KC. Thanks to producer George Howard, who did the double duty of running the live stream and putting together the podcast. Tip of the cap to Vahe Gregorian, Herbie Teope, and Jesse Newell. Morning Sports Edition was 41 pages today. See why I say it is the best digital sports page in the nation. Go to liveedition.kansascity.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with another SportsBeat KC, where we talk sports in Kansas City every day, and let this be the first of many wishes for a happy holiday season. Take care.